So when it was characterized yesterday as a group effort, do you agree with that characterization of it?
Yes, ma'am.
And do you know approximately how many warrants you worked on in this case?
I don't, ma'am. Several. I don't know the exact number.
Right. I'm going to walk you through several segments of different warrants, and some of this may seem choppy, but I'm going to try to do you and then Detective Mowry at once instead of bringing you back and forth. Does that make sense?
Yes, ma'am. Sounds good.
All right, and Judge, I have paper exhibits for you and for the witness. And so I'll go as fast as I can, but I want you to be able to look at what he's looking at. So we're going to begin with the first AT&T warrant. Prior to this case, had you ever secured an AT&T warrant?
No, ma'am. I don't believe I had.
And so, given that, who did you rely on in creating the warrant for
Largely
AT&T?
Special Agent Balance. Obviously, he's the CAS expert, so I relied heavily on his input.
At the time that AT&T warrant 1 was secured, were you co-located with Special Agent Balance?
I believe so, yes.
Can you, in terms of being more specific, it was December 23rd. Were you two co-located at that time?
I believe so, yes.
And I know co-located has been talked about in court a couple of times, but can you just explain what it means for you two to be co-located since he's from DC?
Certainly. Yeah, he was in the same building as I was, just mere feet away from the command post.
Okay, so when you say mere feet away, were you guys in like a cubicle setting or were you in offices with doors? What was this setting in terms of proximity to each other a few feet away?
Yeah, separate offices with doors, but in the same second floor of the Moscow Police Department.
Are you aware of Special Agent Balance in his work in doing AT&T records having any access to AT&T records without a warrant?
I am not aware of that, no.
Are you aware of him having any ability to review AT&T records through any portal without a warrant?
Not to my knowledge, no.
I'm going to begin with what is known as State's Exhibit 1 attached to their objection to the motion to suppress AT&T warrant. And Judge, for today's purposes, what I'm doing is relying on the labels that are in the record as opposed to giving them new stickers.
This has been marked previously as State's S1, or is that 8-1? I can't.
I think it's SS for State 1.
All right, State's S1 affidavit for search warrant.
And now I've got to get,
Objection to the admission of that for today's hearing.
you know, Judge, I should have started out by saying that the same stipulation regarding the admission of all exhibits applies today.
We do need the formality of moving for the admission, however. So that's why
I can do that. Do you want me to do that per exhibit?
Well, it makes, as you're talking about them, it probably makes sense.
Okay, I've got to get myself S1. Okay, Detective Payne, can you look at page 5?
Yes, ma'am.
On page 5, can you read what it says in the, at the very end of the page, in the sentence above wherefore, that begins with, the paragraph, it begins in support. Can you read that paragraph?
Certainly. In support of the assertion as to the existence of probable cause, the following facts are offered based upon personal knowledge of affiant. See attached statement of Brett Payne, which is marked Exhibit A and incorporated as though fully set forth herein.
And is that S1 the affidavit in support of the search warrant?
Yes, it is.
And that's the AT&T 1 search warrant that was the first one served on December 23rd, correct?
That's correct.
And that language that you put in there, Exhibit A, is incorporated as though fully set forth herein. Is that the language you just read?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, I'm now going to hand you State's Exhibit 2 to the AT&T first warrant. Can you review that first page, the first paragraph?
Admission of S2.
Pardon?
Are you seeking the admission of S2?
I am seeking the admission of S2. Just to be clear, Judge, all of these that I'm putting before him and the ones that are attached, we're seeking the admission of.
No objection to S2? All right, it's admitted.
Have you reviewed that, Detective Payne? Do you see that, the language that I just referred to in the search warrant affidavit, do you see that same language in this warrant, in where you incorporate the affidavit, incorporate Exhibit A into your, you see that language
Ma'am.
in S2? And is S2 the actual search warrant for AT&T?
Yes, ma'am, it is.
Can you turn to the last page on page 4? What time was the warrant served?
10:03 a.m.
Do you recall that the return on that warrant came in at 3:30 that day?
That would sound correct. I don't remember specifically.
Would it help if I showed you the AT&T Mobility Propriety front page to verify?
Yes, ma'am.
Judge, I'm not seeking the admission of this, just for purposes of him being able to be certain. Sorry.
The witness may be shown the document to refresh his recollection.
Yes, Your Honor.
And Judge, for the record, this has also been admitted already in Frank's D17, page 634. Detective, can you see on that that came in at, I think it's 15:30? It's,
15:31.
okay. Thank you. I'm now handing you Defense Exhibit A to the reply to the AT&T suppression motion.
This doesn't have a sticker on it?
Pardon?
This does not appear to have a sticker on it.
No, it does not, but it is attached to the reply as Exhibit A, AT&T. And that reply is, okay. Can you see line 4 there? Oh, sorry, Judge.
Copy and put, let's just, do you have a number that we were going to call this?
I would call it Exhibit A to reply, because that's what it is in the record. You see at the bottom of the page where it says Exhibit A, AT&T?
So this is the return of the warrant of S2?
Yes.
All right, let's call it S2.2. Or 2.1, pardon me.
That's fine.
The fact that it's associated with that particular warrant. Allowed to touch stickers under the union contract, so why don't you give it to the bailiff?
Detective Payne, on page 2 of that Exhibit A, it's actually just the front page where it says Affidavit of Brett Payne. What does paragraph 4 say?
Paragraph 4 or line 4?
Line 4.
It says the warrant was served on 12/23/2022 by email, fax, et cetera.
So do you know exactly what method was used?
I don't remember.
Okay. And it says warrant in that line, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Does it say anything about the affidavit in support of search warrant accompanying the warrant?
Oh, ma'am.
On the next page, the receipt and inventory of warrant, do you see that?
Yes, ma'am.
Can you look at description of property? What does that say?
It says 509-592-8458.
Can you explain how that's a description of property and what that means?
It just means essentially that there was the information retrieved as a result of that phone number being queried with AT&T.
And it indicates that that was produced how?
All right, we're going to slip in a quick commercial break. We'll get you back into that Idaho courtroom for the hearing concerning this man, accused killer, Bryan Kohberger, right after this.
No credit hit.
Welcome back to Court TV Live. Let's head back now to Idaho. We're watching a motion hearing for Idaho College killing suspect Bryan Kohberger. His defense team is asking the judge to dismiss a large portion of the evidence in this case, which, that's their job. They believe that a lot of it relies on this genetic investigation process that they're calling unconstitutional. Let's go in right now. They're talking about an AT&T warrant that was issued here, and the defense wants some of that suppressed as well. Corporal Brett Payne is on the stand. Let's listen.
Entrance was obtained by email.
And when that was received, did you do anything to verify that the data was within the date ranges of November 12th to November 14th of 2022?
I don't remember. That information was provided to Special Agent Balance as soon as it was received.
Do you have, when you say that it was provided to Special Agent Balance, is that because you don't have the capacity, technical skills, I guess, to review that raw data and do something with it?
Yes, ma'am.
Was there anybody else that you relied on for that other than Special Agent Balance?
Not that memory brings to mind.
Let's now turn to the AT&T2 pen trap and also known as pen trap and trace. Can you explain what a pen trap and trace is?
So Pen register, best of my knowledge, now granted, I am, as I've stated before, I'm not an expert in cell phone stuff, but to the best of my knowledge, a pen register tracks incoming and outgoing phone calls, text messages, so on and so forth. And then the trap and trace is the portion that essentially gives you location data, or the precision data, precision location data rather. So it's essentially incoming and outgoing calls, what messages are received, and then part of that was where that phone was located when it was doing it.
Was it required that you secure the AT&T first warrant to obtain the second warrant that included a pin, trap, and trace?
I don't believe it was required.
So when the data was received on at 3:30, you gave that data was given to Special Agent Balance?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And then what happened in between 3:30 and 4:53 when the second warrant was secured?
Are you talking technically speaking, or can I speak in generalities? Because that's all I really know.
Well, I want you to talk about what you know.
So the only thing I know is that that information was provided to Special Agent Balance. He utilized whatever tools he has at his disposal, and then it was decided upon to go after the second pin, trap, and trace.
When did you start drafting that second trap and trace?
I don't remember.
So on that day, you did one in the morning that was secured at 10:03,
Yes, ma'am.
and then the second one was secured at 4:53 p.m. And you don't have a recollection of when you were working on those?
I don't remember, no.
All right. I think you have State's Exhibit 2 in front of you.
Yes, ma'am.
Can you flip back to that one? Can you see on page 1, what does it say that the time of that warrant was obtained?
Talking about State's Exhibit 2. Oh, 10:03 is what it says. Is that what you're referring to?
No, I'm referring to the return, which should be in, I might be referring you to the wrong exhibit.
Point 1, I believe.
And that was at 4:53. The second warrant was obtained at 4:53. I might not have handed you pin
I
trap.
don't think I have that one.
Yeah, my understanding is, just so we're clear, because I'm getting a little confused, is that we have the affidavit for warrant, the warrant, and the return of the warrant all related to the first warrant to AT&T. And we haven't got the pin, trap, and trace warrant presented yet, I don't think.
Right, I've got it here. And Judge, for clarification purposes too, today as we're going through testimony, my plan was not to go through every single warrant that we're arguing about and get it in front of the court. I'm really trying to take kind of a scalpel approach on the issues that we want to point out to the court. So it does really feel like I'm jumping around, and I realize that. I hope to bring it all together in the end.
The only caveat being what I've told you before is where you have is a broad array of documentation that you've presented. The court will not scour the record to find support for your motions that's not pointed out to the court specifically. And that's well established with case law from the Idaho Supreme Court.
And Judge, that's why I am trying to grab the pieces and parts that I want you to be able to identify, and that's why I'm putting the paper in front of you. So I'm hearing you when you've asked us to do that. All right, I'm handing you State's Exhibit 1. And this is to the second AT&T warrant also known as pin, trap, and trace.
This one is also listed as S1 on the sticker.